Live.
I should probably get closer.
Boom.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
So you guys, yeah. Boom. There we go.
Oh goodness.
A little closer.
Do it right.
Gang.
VERSAI news.
How's it going, everyone? This is the second ever VERSAI live stream. If you were here last week, you noticed that Dika was actually a ceiling fan. This week, that ceiling fan has actually transformed back into a human being, and we have the human being here.
It's a pretty handsome human being.
Wow.
He's still our biggest fan, though.
Yes. Dika is our biggest fan. And yes, this is him. Do you want to briefly introduce yourself because you didn't get the chance to last week?
Yeah. I'm Dika. I'm a music producer. Not really a DJ like the rest of the VERSAI boys, but not yet. Getting into that.
I have a mix coming out.
I've got a mix. My first mix is going to be coming out late December, and I have a tutorial video that was recently posted, I believe, last week. So go and check that out. And more to come.
Hey,
everything.
Hey.
Indeed.
Nice.
I'm just spamming everybody. Everybody knows everyone.
Everybody come watch us.
The downside to adding everyone in existence on Facebook is that you spend about 20 minutes just like. This is just by the end of it. My face is just like.
Did you give them context, or you just like?
I'm gonna spam the shit out of them, and then what I'll do is like. On like the morning of, I'll be like, hey, keep an eye out for that link. You know what I'm saying? It's not a surprise because it's funny. Like about 30 of these people just be like, what's that? What's that for? Where does this link go? Is this going to be a pyramid scheme? I'm not interested.
Well, if you guys have any questions at any point during this live stream, we're going to be talking about like a variety of stuff, but just let us know if you have questions. We'll be happy to answer them and address them.
Yeah, see, what's this? 7 people.
Hey, those 7.
Oh,
small.
Click on it and check it out.
Interest? Better click on it. Ooh, wow.
How to make 50 million in 15 days. All right, perfect. So should we get started then?
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, first of all, I just want to say welcome, everybody. Of course, everyone in the chat. And then, good afternoon to everybody. How was your guys' weekend? How was your Everything good?
Dude, it was lit.
Want to have a fun story before we start?
I had the most exciting homework assignment to do, followed by the most exciting school project that I had to do. So,
all right, more to come, and I love it. About that. So, perfect. But okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So basically, in today's live stream, I wanted to talk to everybody, our viewers as well at home, and then also as well us, about the creative process when it comes to making music. Of course, this is also going to correlate to you as well, since you are a DJ, but you're also, making music as well. And so I just want to get your thoughts. I want to ask you guys a little bit of questions. I'm going to share some of my, stuff that I do. So let's go ahead and get started. So when it comes to making music, I just want to let you guys, I just want to know, what is your guys' approach? I don't know if you want to start. What's your approach when it comes to making music?
I mean, really, it's to kind of like start off with either like an idea or an objective. Like maybe, like usually it helps to kind of know what genre I want to start in. And then, honestly, sometimes I've started off a song and then I'm like, oh shit, like I kind of come up with something and I'm like, oh, this would be like really good as like a drum and bass song, or this would be really good as like a techno song. And then I kind of like, all right, well, maybe I'll like save some of this for later, or find a way to incorporate like some of these ideas later on in the song, and I'll take some of like something I really like that I made, and then I'll kind of just develop that further.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of my approach. I think it's really good to start off with an idea, whether that be like rhythm or just like a name. I think Virtual Riot actually had a video where he kind of said that like a lot of he has like a whole list of just like names that he's come up with, and that he has like written down, not necessarily song ideas, just names, and he'll use those names to kind of develop them into whole songs, where he'll like, okay, this song is called, I don't know, whatever, it could be called literally whatever, and he like Hysteria, it's one of his tracks. Maybe he has like, okay, the song is called this, so I'll have people like screening in the background or something
Right,
like that.
okay.
You know what I mean? So he has like a video on that. And I thought that was like kind of interesting too. That can be helpful as well.
That's
There's all sorts of
that's
ways.
actually kind of cool the way he does that. Is that he creates the name of a song, so it could be like anything. It could be like cup or water or whatever. You know, maybe a little bit more elaborate. But then
Yeah,
he
yeah,
makes a
new-
song for that.
New
That's pretty
Fire
cool.
Mix coming out called Cup.
Cup.
Stay tuned.
It's just like an hour of the cup song.
Yeah, you're just. So how about yourself? What's your approach when?
It's really just an idea. It could be like a song title, which is that's pretty interesting. I've never really heard that before. Just a general vibe. A few weeks ago, I was listening to Green Day, a lot of Green Day, and I wanted to create like a really upbeat rock song. So I grabbed my guitar and I was trying to come up with like a riff and stuff. I came up with a really cool riff. I created a cool drum pattern around it, and it was like this really upbeat rock song. And I was like, this is going pretty cool and stuff. Then I cut the tempo in half and listened to what my riff sounded like in halftime, and I was like, this is pretty cool.
Oh.
And so and I originally recorded it with like really distorted effects on my amp and stuff. And I was like, well, this is like, it didn't really mesh well, like the distorted effects with the slow tempo. So I re-recorded it with just clean guitar, slowed down, and it was really chill. And then I added super saws behind it, like not very harsh super saws, but like light super saws and like a more chill beat. And I think it was at like 80 BPM or like 75 BPM. And it ended up being like a really chill kind of like hip hop track.
Oh, okay.
And it was
Cool.
it deviated so far from my original idea, and I was like, but like that's what the creative process is all about.
You have to let that happen. Like it'll happen, but if you just try to force yourself in a direction, like I don't know, like at the very least, you're not going to be really happy with like forcing yourself to, you know, if you want to go in a certain direction of the song, just let it happen. You can have like, it's going to happen. You can have multiple ideas in a song or in a project file, and then you can later split those into multiple projects if you want to do that.
Nice. I like that you created a riff, you created something with the guitar, and then you slowed it down, and then all of a sudden it became something bigger.
Yeah, that's like all the creative process. Like the creative process like allows you, and that's where I think everyone like finds their individual sound, because like you could give me like Iode could create a bunch of drum and bass tracks, like synths, rhythms, whatever it may be, give it to me, and then my creative process, being different than his, would turn it into a completely different track.
That's why collabs are cool.
That's why collabs are really cool, because it gets a combination of two different sounds, and that's why everyone has their own sound. It's because everyone's creative process is different.
Oh, okay.
And everyone's creative process is always changing too, which is pretty interesting.
And then when you meld ideas, like, if, you know, like you say collaborations, you meld ideas and all of a sudden you get something that you never knew. Holy cow, we created this. You know, it's like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know? How about yourself? I know you're starting music production, but you also DJ as well.
Working with, being part of like the crew of Aluna and the Space Anemones. I'll tell you more about that later. But as soon as we would like be making music and she'd be singing and I'd be playing her tracks, I was listening to her voice and I'm like, holy shit, I gotta use that somehow. So I asked her like, hey, can I have like just your vocals just so I have something to mess around with? And that's when I started making that hardstyle track recently that I've been working on.
Oh, nice.
Just because I was like, her voice is so distinct, but I know I want to like mess around with it. But then we were talking about it when we were setting up today, and I was just like, I wonder what he would come up with if I said just because I know you would have a completely different direction than what I'm thinking. So I know that like as soon as like when we're done today, I'll be like, hey,
the project file.
Guys, like, all right, I'm gonna give you guys this by the beginning of next year. Like, let's see what everybody can do. We can do something like that, but that'd be cool.
Have you guys seen like Andrew Huang videos, like 4 producers, 1 sample? So
Yeah.
like that'd be super cool if we did something like that to just kind of show like how everyone's creative process is so different. So
I'd be so down. I have this. It's funny. I have this sample from Ed Nettie that I really want to use. It's like, it's like from the end of the intro, and it's just like the I really want to use that.
Oh, real quick, my buddy said that careful not to shake the table. He's watching, so just in case like it's a little mumbling. So
Thank you.
But along the lines, like, that's pretty cool that you guys have that. To me, I'm very similar to all of you guys as well. For me, I just kind of I aim for a genre. So if I'm trying to make techno, I'll try to go for techno. If I try to make tech house, go for tech house, progressive house, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I just kind of go from there. And who knows what it turns out to. There's been times where I've made a song, didn't like it, deleted everything, but maybe the melodies that I liked, or kept some parts I liked, and all of a sudden became something different. You know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's pretty cool how you can do that when it comes to the creative process.
It was a couple months back I started working on this track just to like see how well I do going back into like Fruity Loops and everything. And I was making it with my girlfriend, and I was trying to make like a slow like trap kind of thing. And she just goes like, what would happen if you like put it in hyper mode? And I was like, hyper mode, and she's like, speed it up. And I'm like, all right.
Okay.
So I was at like 75 like trap dubstep ish, and I kicked up to 150, and it was more like bam bam, and she was just like, it was like bare minimum, and she's just like, and I was like, all right, noted. Like,
Nice.
Yeah, but that's cool because like it's in that like sometimes you just have to make it with other people.
Paxton asks, "Yo, is that the artist formerly known as Altitude High?"
This is to Paxton, whoever you are. Yes, this is formerly Altitude High. Released one track under Altitude High. Scrap that.
And someone says,
That's my other friend.
How are you gonna pick up DJ's island?
DJ's in.
DJ's in. Oh.
Is this a family friendly stream? Did you set it to?
No, I guess. Okay, well, I mean, I haven't.
Zin is a nicotine product that me and my friends share. So that's what he's asking.
Oh, okay.
And, I think I've got. My answer for you, Wadley, is that it is sitting in my car right now. So
okay.
There we go.
Because he's like, when are you picking up DJ? Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Moving along. Let's see here. I think this is a good one. I want to know what your guys' interest is. I want to know what your guys' feedback is. How do you avoid writer's block?
Dude.
I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Yeah, go for it.
The way I avoid writer's block is just by listening to other songs.
Yeah.
I also use a reference track as well. I like to copy the whole thing one by one. But sometimes I just like mess around. Maybe I'm creating a song in D minor, go into the chords of the notes, and then just start messing around, and then just go differently, and select different notes and see what kind of comes out, So that's how I avoid writer's block. How did you guys avoid writer's block?
I would say
go first.
I would say obviously like a blank canvas is every artist's like worst. Not like it's where you're panicking the most. It's like, what do I do here? What do I do here? And stuff like that. So it's really all about just laying stuff down. So like usually I don't like, if I'm gonna sit down say at noon to start a track, I don't really get like a vibe going or like an outline for the song until probably like 3 or 4 hours in, like 2 or 3 hours in, where you really lay down a beat where you're like, I really want to go with this, or you lay down a synth track, like a lead that you're like, I really want to build on this. It's all about just like messing around until you find something that you want to build around. Because every track, in my experience, every track has started with something that like one track, whether it's drums, whether it's a lead, whether it's a melody, it's something that you build around. So like that's been my experience. It's just like messing around and finding one thing that you can actually build around.
Oh, okay. So like, yeah.
And oftentimes I'll like say create a lead and then I'll build around that and I'll have like an entirely done finished track made, and then I'll switch my lead. I'll like change my lead that I like first started with that I built everything around. So like,
gotcha.
That's the creative process again.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of similar to what I do as well. Sometimes I'll just like get a lead, or sometimes I'll just make a lead or something, and then I'll just like start going around. And go from there.
Exactly.
So,
So for writer's block, I don't know what happened, but it was like 3 months ago that for about a month I was just in the worst, like, I don't want to touch music. Do I even want to stick with music? I don't know why. I was just like, I think it was after I made the mix for Gold Rush, and I'd been playing it, like I'd played at Trumbull's and Sidebar and Barsmith, and I played at a bunch of places really quickly, and I was just like burnt out.
Yeah, you got.
I was just like, it's the same thing every time. And then there's no follow through, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Blah, blah, blah. And I started to think about it, and I was like, well, you've been seeming pretty like extroverted. Maybe it's your setting. So now what I'll do before I start making a mix or something is I'll get like I'll make a nice cup of coffee. I'll get in like a quiet, like chill spot, and I'll just sit and I'll just play. Like I'll find some new music and I'll just play a song and I'll just listen to it all the way through. And then I'll just like hear the noises. Here's the different like patterns. Here's where you can come in. Here's where you can leave. So for me, like when it comes to making a mix, and I've kind of got that like writer's block, I'll just like isolate one song and like just do like one. And then once you get more comfortable, like do another one, like pick another song, and then just kind of slowly get into it versus like sitting there and making myself do it, because then it's like, well, now I'm angry at it.
Yeah.
You know, now my
That's the
mix
last
is,
thing you want.
now my mix is, or like the song that I'm working on, it's gonna come out like half-assed because I'm trying to like make it happen.
Right. Instead of just letting it happen, you know. Come
Yeah,
to you.
instead of it like, oh, like this would be a good idea. This would be a cool transition. Maybe we can include something like this in the next song that we're writing. Versus like, this needs to happen today, or I'm never gonna do it again. Yeah.
What about you?
I think there's a couple things. One, listening to other people's music and listening to kind of like artists that inspire you for sure. I think can really help, especially like paying attention to like what they're doing in terms of like song structure, sound design, you know, just the effects that they're using. The style, like just kind of all that stuff can, and especially if you hear something like, for me, like I really like music that kind of crosses genre boundaries and kind of breaks genre boundaries. So it's like for me, like hearing a song that like maybe like an artist who's using, who like breaks into like, I don't know, like a heavy metal breakdown into like, you know, the middle of the song, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And maybe like I'll feel inspired from that. Another thing is, having multiple interests in hobbies. So if you're, if you like, and it can even be within music. So like you can like production, and you can be a producer, but maybe you're feeling a little, you have writer's block or you're feeling burnt out, and then so maybe you go mix for a little bit. Maybe you go hop on your controller and like DJ for a little bit. Maybe you don't even have to record a mix, just, you know, just mess around, because, you know, it can be a lot more like leisurely to just kind of mix, whereas like producing can feel a lot more like stressful and pressured, because you're like having this computer and you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And mixing is a lot more of like a live, engaging thing. And then it can be something else too. Like, so for me, like I also enjoy doing like graphic design. I also enjoy doing like stuff in After Effects and stuff like that. And that's also kind of why I've been doing all our own like graphics and stuff. It's because it's something I enjoy doing, and it's like, you know, like, and I can take a break from doing anything else, and or like producing or DJing or, you know, whatever, and I can go in there and kind of still feel like I'm being creatively, I have a creative outlet for that. And so really, like, I kind of only try to do things when I'm feeling like creatively inspired, and I feel like that's kind of when the best stuff happens. Right, is when you are feeling like creatively inspired and stuff. So
I think you hit the nail on the head quite well, actually, with the hobby part. Having hobbies is a good idea to just like go out there and, you know, get your mind off the music. You know?
I got it.
But that is actually, I like that one. For me, I kind of tend to like, you know, I go to the gym. I mean, I look like it right now, but give me 2 months.
I mean, you're bigger than the rest of us. So.
DJ Swole over here. But no, you're gonna be a Will Sparks 2.0.
But yeah, it's having something that, you know, get your mind off things. Also, like, you know, I think all of us here are gamers. I play Borderlands 3 a lot.
I love Scrabble.
That's where you get your creative outlet.
I'm more of a solitaire guy because I don't have any friends.
No, dude, free cell. You need multiple. Dude, honestly, like if it's during the day and I just need a breather, and I'm like, I can't music. I need like an hour or two. And my brother's home, I'll be like, you want to play Apex? Yeah. And then we'll go and we'll wreck it. I'm like, all right, I'm feeling good about myself. Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. So just having the hobbies and get your mind off things.
Yeah. You know? And the thing is like, don't put so much okay, so the more pressure you put on yourself, the less creative you'll be, because you'll be stressed and you'll be limiting your creative process. So you can actually, and this is something that I kind of do, is that when I play video games or when I do stuff that like isn't, you know, like, I guess, productive for me, I still think of it as being productive because you need that stress relief. You need to play video games because you don't have to like overthink things. You don't have to stress about it, and it's just kind of a way of like blowing off steam, and then that helps you later because then you'll feel like refreshed and like
Exactly. Yeah. Gives your brain a break. And,
right.
You know, you just go out and you have fun instead of like worrying about okay, what am I gonna do with this melody? You know
so see, Jonathan gets me. Scrabble is
pretty good. See, Jonathan.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. He gets it. He's a Scrabble champion in the chat. All right, perfect. So moving on. How much time do you guys spend on a single element? For me, I try not to stay. So like if I'm making a bass line or something, or try to make, you know, a lead or something, I try not to spend more than an hour on it, or maybe even less. I try to spend even less. I wouldn't even say more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So the more minimal, the better, because you just want to keep on going.
It's really easy to overthink like one little thing when in reality you should keep going. Overthinking is more the time for when you're like mixing and mastering and stuff like that.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when you're starting off a song, the best thing to do is just get your ideas out and don't worry about perfecting the sound. You can even use presets.
Exactly.
You can later replace those presets with your own custom sounds.
Yeah, no, as bad as it sounds, it's like you want to just make something that's good enough for the time being, especially when you're in the beginning of the process. You just want to make something that's good enough for you to move on to the next element.
Right.
And to keep building on.
Right. So like for you, what would you guys say would be a good like amount of time to spend on an element? Like even like kicks, you know, we can even throw kicks in there, percussions, melodies. Like what is your time frame that you're like, okay, you know what, I think I spent too much time here, let's move on?
I mean, it's tough to say because I feel like we've all produced music, we've all spent an absurdly long time on on like a hi-hat pattern or something like that.
Yeah. Listen to like,
so like,
do I want it to go wow or do I want it to go like wow?
Yeah, and sometimes it's good that you spend a ton of time on it, but like sometimes obviously you have to look at yourself and be like, okay, I spent way too much time on that. I got to move on. But like I'd say a good amount of time to spend on each part is like no more than 20 minutes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Or so. It completely
Yeah.
depends because like hi-hats you don't need to have an extensive amount of like sound design, whereas like you're making a bass or something. Snare sounds like shit. My snare sounds like garbage. Oh, geez.
Yeah, I think it's totally dependent on the element. So like for example, like a lot of songs, I'll kind of just throw in like a drum rack that like it's either like an Ableton stock drum rack or a drum rack that I've like prepared in advance. Like I have some like drum racks saved for different genres and stuff. The ones that I've like, you know, done a little bit of like EQing and like sound, like a little bit of like kind of sound design stuff on. And then I'll like throw those in, and then later I'll be like, all right, well, I'm not really super sad. Like towards maybe the middle or end of the song, I'll be like, all right, so I'm not really happy with that hi-hat, so I'll like replace that later. I also like just like did a techno song, and that techno song, like I spent way more time like working on like, I guess I took like a basic house kick, like a bass house kick, and then I like did so much like layering and effects and like tweaking and like so many things to that kick, and that's something that I wouldn't have done for just a normal house song. But because that like you want that like for that kind of genre, you like techno has like that distinct like, you know, booming kick, and it's
the
like
backbone of the song.
Right. It's the backbone of the song. So I spent a lot more time on that kick than I would have in any other situation, like in any other genre. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I would say like production wise, I think because I have less experience with like creating something and immediately knowing how to make it on my own, I definitely utilize your idea about like using a preset just so that my idea is there, and then I'm like, okay, now that I know I want it basically there.
Oh yeah, those are some convoys.
Stop.
I
definitely like I know kind of how I want the song's like structure to be. So I'll be like, all right, I want kicks there, highs there, maybe some leads and synths there, and then I'll go back the next day. Because like I'll make it, I'll probably spend like an hour or so just building that structure.
Right.
I'll step away, maybe I'll come back the next day and like, all right, now that I've thought about it, I kind of want it to sound more like this. And then from there, I would build something fresh and put that on top of it.
Nice.
So then it's kind of like, okay, it's that same thing, but at least now that whole me immediately having ideas is gone. So now I can like curve it a little bit. I can carve it out.
Nice.
Yeah, I like what you said about stepping away, because I heard from, I think it was like Getter or something. He was like, to every hour give your ears a 10-minute break.
That's true.
Which
Yeah.
after I started trying that, it completely made sense.
Oh, you don't.
Because you come back after your 10-minute break of like if you just want to play a game of COD or something like that. You come back from your 10-minute break and you're like, this is completely different from what I thought I was working towards. Sometimes it's a good thing and it gives you new ideas, and sometimes it's like I need to change that like ASAP.
Yeah.
A really good tip. I can't remember. It was just a production channel on YouTube. They said don't over listen to your song and don't work in your song in segments and don't over listen to the song, because the more you listen to your song in an unfinished state, the more attached you'll get to that song in that state, and you'll also get that ear fatigue where you might not be able to notice certain details, like if the mixing isn't right, or maybe if it's in key, or maybe if it even sounds good because you're just you're so used to hearing that. So try to listen, and that'll help with writer's block and ear fatigue and everything. Is just listen to your song only in the parts and only when necessary.
Nice.
You always want to listen with like a fresh set of ears, because you have to realize like who's going to be listening to your music. People that are listening to it for the first time.
Right.
So what's it going to sound like to a fresh pair of ears? Sort of thing.
And that's why people hire someone else to do their mixing and mastering, is because it's you getting that fresh pair of ears and someone who doesn't have that ear fatigue. So.
Right. I've been guilty of doing that myself, of listening to a work in progress. It's just the bass and maybe the lead and then the kicks and then just not anything else. And I have gone attached to songs like
Everyone's
and then it's like, gosh damn it, not again. And it's like, and so now it's trying to speed up the process. Like, okay, we spent time with the bass. Okay, that's good. Moving along to the leads, whatever, have you. But yeah, the 10-minute break per hour is really good. Ear fatigue, definitely avoid it. Definitely could not agree more with you guys. It's definitely true. True facts there on that one. So
Big facts.
Big facts. Do you guys ever model yourself after a producer, or at least try to? Like me, I like Eric Prydz and then deadmau5. So just times where I'm listening to a lot of Eric, and sometimes I'll be like, I want to create something like this.
What are your tattoos, man?
They're not here yet. I can't call myself a fan though. So do you guys have like a producer that you guys try to model yourself after, or try to follow their kind of?
I think it certainly ranges from song to song. Like a lot of times, sometimes I'll hear a song from a new artist I've never heard of, and I'll be listening in my car, like on my way home or something. And immediately I'll get home and be like, I want to try to model my song after this guy that I've never even heard before. But like he had like some ambience in his sound, in his like sound design that like I want to try to replicate, sort of thing. But my personal ultimate go-to for like sound design and song structure and everything is Getter, probably.
Nice.
He has
watched
one of his videos.
Yeah.
He's got cool videos.
He
does a lot of cool
VERSAI
breakdown
album
videos.
was,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it was iconic. I love
It was great.
I love that VERSAI album. It's really good. If you guys haven't listened to it,
it's a vibe.
it is a very good vibe. But yeah, do you guys have any like artists that you try to model yourself after, or try to like model a song after?
Honestly, I take a lot of inspiration from like Disciple. Like I have spoken about them before, but I love.
What's your tattoo?
I need
He's
one.
just like pulls up his shirt right here, man.
Disciple, if any of you guys are watching, let's collab sometime.
If they ever see this,
Maybe
yes,
you guys
VERSAI Disciple collab. No, but specifically, like I watched a lot of their videos, and like Eliminate and Virtual Riot. Definitely, I've watched like a lot of their stuff, and like I love what Eliminate does, like with his with the sound design. His videos are a little hard to follow because
He's advanced. He is advanced, right?
Like yeah. Wait, what?
He's advanced. Like he's really advanced.
He's more of like he doesn't really in his videos, like Virtual Riot is like super in depth in his videos, and then Eliminate is kind of just like, yeah, like I did this, and then I did this.
I put a reverb here, moving along, and then it's like, okay, what'd you do with the reverb?
Right, so it's a little bit dry, but I do really like what he's been doing, and he just released an EP, and it's like I don't know, there's very distinct sound design and very distinct sound. I mean, in that EP, like there's like drum and bass in that EP, and then.
Oh, that's my buddy David. Then that's great. It's like sitting down having lunch with you guys. Oh my gosh. Oh god. Oh yeah, it's my buddy.
Better audio. Okay, perfect.
Thank you,
Good
David.
to know for future reference.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like he has in that EP, he has like a drum and bass song. It's like completely different than all the other songs, and then but he has like a I don't even know, maybe like it's like a speed house song, and then he has like some weird like hybrid trap like rhythm sounding stuff, and it's like I love that shit. Like that shit is like, okay, you can do this, you can be multi-genre, you can break genre boundaries, you can do new shit. And it's like, I fucking love that. So.
What I like about Disciple is that you not only is it just one person, but it's a group of people. And you pretty much have like a plethora of ideas that you can pick from or like get ideas from. It's like, you know, you say you listen to a lot of Eliminate, and then maybe you can go and listen to Richard Wright, and then maybe switch it up to one of the different artists that's on there, and then just kind of pick up ideas. It's like, oh, I like the way he did this kick. Let me try to do something like that. I like the way he did this bass. Let me try to do something like that.
And they do like artists in Disciple, they do a lot of like hybrid like dubstep rhythm like in like heavy metal songs. So like Phase One, and then like Sullivan King, like you know, like they do like it's like
good job, Boudreaux. Proud of you, hometown hero. We love you.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh no, I'm done. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
So when it comes to production, who I try and model myself after, not necessarily in the same way, but I do tend to get a lot of ideas from Seven Lions.
Ooh.
Just because of like I want to say every other song I hear from Seven Lions, there's a new sound. And like for the past, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years since I've been like trying to hit music really, really hard. Every time he came out with something, I would listen to it and I'm like, I've never heard that sound before. Even if it's like a second like little blip or like a new waveform, I'm just like, that's new. Even when I'm going into mixing it and trying to make it like build it into a set, I look at the waveform and I was like, I've never seen one like that before. Either it's like cut out really short or it's built really long. I'm like, but just hearing those like specific, it sounds vague, but like hearing those sounds in that order, I'm like, what would happen if I like, and then ooh, wow, yeah. That's what I do for more when it comes to producing. I also have a buddy that I recently started hanging out with named he goes by LaRoche. He's dope. He's really, really talented. Him and his wife are so stupid talented.
Oh wow.
So she
does music production too? Or?
So he does I think my understanding is he does the production for them.
Okay.
Like he'll like clean it up here and there, but he'll make remixes of their songs. So like wife is in a band and they're dope. Miss this band is their name, and they're really talented. They're like indie, like folk pop kind of, and then he does more like chill step, chill trap, like on top of it. But he's been doing remixes for a while. So when I would hang out with him, like I would show him some of the stuff that I made like 4 or 5 years ago when I first learned about production at all, and he was just like, "This is actually kind of good." I was like, "Thank you," but it was also like getting that, like we were talking about before, like getting a fresh ear. And now he would like, hey, like here's some tips to it. Here's some ways you can kind of structure it. So like, it's good to have people that are not necessarily outside of your realm, but like definitely in a different league where you're like, dang, like these guys are really talented and I look up to them. But then at the same time, it's like this guy lives down the street from me. Oh, really? So I'll hit him up and be like, hey, can you hook me up with something? Like, yeah.
That's actually pretty cool. Actually, that he does that for the band.
Yeah.
You know, being able to make remixes for his girls' bands.
Cool. Yeah, exactly.
Do you do anything out of the ordinary, like with VSTs or audio samples? Do you have like a go-to VST that you're not gonna use? Maybe let's do something else.
So when I first started DJing, I was like, I need an intro for myself, and I'll post it again just so you guys can hear it. But it's literally like John Cena's theme song. So I took like John Cena's like, and then I looked up little videos from the movie Cars.
Okay.
When the Wingo car rolls up and they're racing around Mac and like dicking with him and stuff.
Yeah.
And I took the clips where they're like Wingo. So I used those. I found this video on YouTube of this like, it's this 5-year-old girl and she's like, Wingo was his name, like bingo, and I'm like, oh, I'm so taking that. Nice. So I tweaked it and I made it sound like a demon. Yeah, so it's like Wingo was his name.
I gotta hear this.
Yeah, but I was just like, I'm gonna put this in my intro.
That's
and then
cool.
I definitely took because it was cars, and I'm like, this is gonna be funny.
Right.
So I made it like Fast and the Furious sounding, and then it's like skirt.
Is this just like a little 5-second audio tease?
Yeah. Like I'm gonna post it because I had only found it refound it recently, but I was just like, oh my god,
That's funny.
So we have a question.
Yeah.
Jonathan asks, what is a VST? VST.
I want to say virtual software instrument.
No, virtual. I don't know. I don't know.
Virtual
Okay.
software.
It's a plugin. I mean,
Yeah,
it's basically I don't know exactly what it stands for,
Mhm.
but maybe it's
Hey,
a virtual software.
This is a message to Jonathan. Our chat is not Google.
It's like, hey, I know you. I know you
No,
guys
no,
are
no,
in the. I know you guys are in the chat, so just
yeah,
make
yeah.
a new tab. Go to Google.
So VST is it's just a third-party plugin. What basically that means is
Virtual
that
studio
it's not a plugin that's I mean, I guess VST does it. I mean, I don't know if the ones in the DAW are counted as VST.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but they're basically just plugins.
Yeah.
They're basically just different ways to produce sounds, different ways to. Sometimes they're for like effects, like you can like a reverb plugin. You need a VST. It's just kind of like the file type. Generally, like that's just kind of just another word. You can just think of it as another word for plugin. That's just the best way to kind of describe it. Like Serum. It would be a VST plugin, and then Harmless or Harmer. Is it Harmless? I don't know. I don't really use that stuff. Okay, yeah, and then like stuff like that. Sausage fattener.
And that's a go-to for everybody. You have to have that, the sausage fattener. You don't have it in your computer, you're not a producer.
What are your spirit animals?
You
You have to
answer
answer
with
with a
dab.
dab. All right.
Let's finish the previous question, and then maybe we can get to this one.
Yeah, but what was basically
Jonathan, I do love Serum. Serum is my ultimate go-to. But I think it's going to move over to Phase Plant, which is a new synthesizer that is about 16 times more powerful as Serum.
Yeah, I was trying to watch a video, but there's a lot.
There's an artist, Nasco, who makes really dope music. He did like a 3-hour live stream.
I think I watched a little bit of that.
I watched like an hour and a half of it. It's tough to watch, so it's like all the way through, but it's really informative because he like really knows what he's doing with Phase Plant, and so watching someone who actually like he shows everything. It's basically it works as its own DAW. You can drag other plugins into Phase Plant, and
oh wow, okay,
it's almost its own.
So like
DAW.
Reason, like a little bit, like
I don't
Reason Rack. I want to learn how to use Reason Rack. Reason Rack looks really cool. It's almost like a physical like DAW interface where it's like you literally just it's like you have like virtual wires where you like plug them into like different like it's really cool. It's like
it's like almost using like a real version.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, and you can like Reason Rack looks insane. I haven't really used it at all. It looks a little overwhelming, but like
Is it a synthesizer?
So Reason is like a DAW, and then they just released like not too long ago Reason Rack, which is like kind of like the hallmark feature of why you would use Reason.
Gotcha.
And they released it as a plugin, and so that you can use Reason Rack in other like software. And so like Reason Rack is like I guess it's like you can put a bunch of like plugins in there, and you can have them like all interact and like it's like kind of it's supposed to be like super crazy. It's more like similar to how like you would use in like you have like a physical hardware for that kind of stuff.
I see. Like an analog.
Yeah, like analog. Yeah. It's basically modeled after like analog synthesizers. It's
pretty cool.
Yeah,
because a lot of people like the analog synthesizers. They just don't know. They see this big huge thing and they're like, "Whoa, I don't know what to do."
Yeah.
Also, people can't afford them.
People can't afford them. Yeah, that's true.
That's
Yeah, that's true. So that's pretty cool that Reason did that. Within their DAW. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you can get it without the DAW now. I mean, again, they launched that Reason Rack is now a plugin, so you can actually plug it into like Ableton or whatever software you even FL or anything like that. I haven't really looked into it too much, but I watched a brief video on it a while back, and it looked pretty cool.
Which is good because in this day and age, a lot of DAWs are really like, we're making this, but only for us, and no one else can have it.
Yeah,
and I like that Reason is doing that. Like they're breaking that.
I think they probably recognize that maybe they weren't going to be a major player in like the DAW arena that they wanted to be, and so they were like, all right, well, maybe it was probably a business move for them to kind of move into more of a plugin market rather than trying to market themselves as a DAW.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I like
Yeah, I
but
mean,
yeah.
do you want to answer your question?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say like doing things out of the ordinary. I within my tracks, I like to, since I have the subscription for Splice, I like to just browse around and see what I can get. I mean, I'm paying for the credit, so you can use any audio sample you want. And it's pretty cool. You'll love it. I tend to switch things up. So instead of a hi-hat, maybe I'll replace it with a video game sound, or maybe I'll replace it with something different, and then kind of warp the crap out of it and see where I can go from there.
Yeah.
Just sometimes like that in my songs at the beginning, I'll probably throw in like a little ear candy. Like in my recent track that I did like almost like a bubble going from left to right, and I panned it. But it's literally just a bubble that's, you hear it pop, and then that's it. And then I kind of like just warped it, pitched it down a bit, and then kind of, panned it to my liking. And so it's stuff like that I do out of the ordinary. I don't know if you guys
So like
that.
sample choice sort of.
Yeah,
I've used audio of like opening a soda can. Like,
oh really?
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
and like it's just like stuff that sounds nice to the ear in real life also sounds nice in a song if you can place it right. But like your hi-hat thing you said, I watched this Genius video, Deconstructed, like if you guys follow that series at all, of the producer who produced
Serum.
some J. Cole song, and he created a hi-hat pattern out of bird chirps. He had like 3 different bird chirps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he created a hi-hat pattern, and like it kind of just sounds like a bird ambience. Like you don't even realize that it's like a hi-hat pattern, but if you listen to the song, like subconsciously it like adds a lot of rhythm to it, and it's really cool.
So wavetables throw everything into like as a wavetable into like Serum or something. And then
So
just create stuff
doing
like
that Ableton class a couple years back at PVCC, one of the projects, like the first one they did, was basically like he gave us samples and he was like, make something out of it.
Oh.
And it was literally like a frog like croaking, and then it was a telephone, and then there's a goat like bleeding. And it was like 5 or I want to say it was like 10 different songs, and he's just like, do whatever you want. I just want to see what you come up with.
Using those as wavetables would give you a lot of
like
that.
it was
That's
really
basically
cool.
when you can turn those sounds into like pretty much anything
Yeah.
you want. Especially like the frog croaking, where the transients would probably be pretty good on that. Like,
I seen Virtual Riot do that.
You can take any sound like a frog croaking, and you can create kicks, you can create snares. If you know how to do it, if you have the plugins, you can literally create an entire song with just one sound.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, they what's called the Disciple did a video where they took like I think I sent it to you guys, where they did like they recorded a Lambo revving its engine, then they recorded a Toyota Corolla revving its engine, and they recorded Virtual Riot taking
like
rocks and like rolling them down a skateboard.
Yeah.
And because the rocks rolling down the skateboard had the best transients, he was able to do like a lot more. Like pretty much the rocks generated the coolest sounds, and then. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, but it's really it kind of shows the possibilities. And even if you don't have like a third-party plugin like Serum, like you can still do. I'm pretty sure an operator. I don't really use operator, but I'm pretty sure an operator. You can. Oh yeah. So I think an operator, like if you just are using like stock Ableton plugins for example, like you can still throw like like wavetables in there and stuff like that, and you can still do sound design with operator. And I've seen some people do a little bit of stuff like that, but again, I use Serum mostly. Yeah, I'm not really an operator user, but I know that you can do that kind of stuff with stock plugin.
But some of that stuff offline.
No, I was gonna say before we move on to the next question, we have to do the spirit animal and dab.
Oh, okay.
Spirit animal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or who was it? For Jonathan? For Waddley?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know who Waddley is?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
But I don't know a spirit animal.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll go.
We'll go.
I would say
I'll be last.
yeah, since I have an owl on my back, I guess an owl.
So there you go.
Owl.
There you go. Mine's probably an anteater, and we're not gonna get into why, so we're just gonna move right on over here.
There you go. Hey.
This is a good dab, bro. It sounds a little basic. Mine is like, I genuinely think if I was an animal, like it's just a dog. Just you're like, guys, I'm so excited to see you. Like, where's the ball, dude? Like,
Go outside, squirrel.
yeah, but at the same time, like belly up. Just like the puppy that's not really sure how to walk yet, and then I'll fall asleep with my head in the food bowl. Like, I love you, food.
We go to Wingo's house. He's actually asleep with cereal. And
Yeah, and then like I'll be asleep and I was like, transition, just do it. Just, no, you're not on beat. Damn it.
And that dab.
Me!
There you go.
I was like, woof.
We saved the best for last. Go
All
on.
right, Adam,
Oh,
I'm sure
wow,
you've
good
got an
one, Adam.
animal tattooed on you somewhere.
Oh yeah, maybe. Oh fuck, let me find one.
Dude, a tree.
A dragon. I don't know. I don't think a dragon is a real animal.
That's an animal.
That's
That's an
an
animal. It counts. It counts.
It's a mythical creature,
Yeah.
actually.
Can you use a mythical animal?
Lizard.
No, I would say I'm gonna take the David cop out, but I'm gonna say a lemur. Lemurs are cool.
Lemur.
I feel that.
I feel
Yeah,
that.
he felt that.
Yeah, he.
I felt that on the spiritual.
Whenever we see Adam, he's like, "Hey, what's up, bro?" And he like runs to us, hopping
Right.
sideways.
Right, exactly. And
It's
then I'll
almost
like
annoying. It's
right,
It's
and
almost
then
really
I'll use
annoying.
my tail and I'll hang from the ceiling.
Can we call you Sabumafu from now on?
Mm.
Shout out Sabumafu. You're a grandpa. Proud of you.
All right, and the dab to close it out.
You
I
got
already
it.
did it.
Oh, okay.
Again,
I didn't
you know,
see. I'm
Dean
gonna,
first.
all right,
I mean, we have video footage, so.
moving along then. What are some key elements that matter to you the most when making music? What is the thing that you really take pride in and you want to, get down perfect? For me, it has to be the bass. For some reason, I can't seem to get a good grasp of the bass. So for me, it's bass.
For
I
me,
need the
it's
bass to be good.
for me recently. I've been focusing a lot more on like ambience because like a lot of I don't know. I just like to add a lot of like little noises that you barely hear and combine them, and it kind of adds like in my last song "Hold You" that I released. There's a section where there's like these heavy 808s, and in the background there's just like this mellow. It's like a really quiet ambience of like the high end frequencies of just a chain rattling,
Oh.
and it sounded like, and with the combination of like that and the like really deep 808s, it kind of just gave like dungeon vibes, like medieval, like
that's cool.
yeah, and it was just like really cool. So like I like combining like sounds that like aren't like at the forefront of the song, like to create like the kind of ambience or overall like vibe.
And you want to leave that. You tend to leave that in the background, right? You want to make that the key. Like,
Yeah,
not the
just
key
something
vocal.
that like that if you're listening to it, like it like puts you in like in the world of the song and like the overall ambience, sort of.
It's important for mixing too. Just, I mean, it's like it makes the song feel almost empty. And it's just,
Yeah, it makes it gives it like it gives it a place, kind of.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I agree. I'd have to say the same thing. Like, I didn't really know what jungle trap was until I discovered Wywick,
Mm.
and then I was like, okay, I actually feel like I'm in a jungle because there's really subtle like trees rustling, and the drums and the all the percussion is more like tribal.
Oh, okay.
And
So
I'm
like
like-
using like heavy bongos.
Yeah, and there's like little birds every now and again. There'd be like a lemur or just like a little animal like bird like sound in the background, and I'm like, this definitely puts it in like a setting.
Nice.
Versus like you're just chilling at home and you're like, yeah, this is a really cool song, but like it doesn't give you that vibe of where it's taking you somewhere else.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think that's like if you're trying to make something that you really like want to show that you put effort in,
Mhm.
like that definitely is like
No, yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah, like it just
sound selection.
yeah, it just makes it so much more satisfying.
It's like ear candy.
Mhm.
That point.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's funny because like I like to kind of throw like I like to find like I don't use Splice except for renting out Serum, but I do like to go on the internet and find like kind of like various like ambience and stuff. I think I have there's a couple kind of like main ambient sounds I kind of like to use in my tracks to kind of like make them feel like kind of add like build up and make them feel like less empty. Like I have one of like a sports crowd cheering, and that's good for like build ups, and then also kind of like during the drops when there's like other sounds going on, and it kind of just adds to the kind of make the sounds feel wider. It gives like a wider feel to it.
Mhm.
And then I have like white noise that I like to throw in the background a lot. And then also like sometimes like rain, and then like like rain and like maybe like forest ambient noises. And then you can do cool stuff with that, like having that pan between like your ears and stuff, and kind of give your song more stereo width.
Right.
I think there's like cool stuff that you can do with that, and even like the crowd sharing, you can kind of have that pan between whatever the two channels, and you can again give your track more stereo width with like ambient noises and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that kind of stuff is kind of like part of larger like making all the sounds in the song feel like they have a place. And I kind of do my mixing and my mastering as I go, but I don't like try to perfect it.
Right.
But I like to like have the sounds feel like they belong in the song while I'm making the song.
Right. Yeah.
Not perfect, let's save that for later, but at least have it be, to a point where like I feel like I continue to feel inspired to work on the song, because I think I can hear this going. So.
Yeah, I recently discovered the crowd using like crowd noise from a tutorial that I watched, and I thought that was pretty cool because like you make it more fuller, and it adds to the track, and I thought that was pretty cool. And the way that that artist, the producer, he sidechained and everything, he just signed it perfectly, and it fit the song. And
of course, sidechain everything. that's a good rule. That's a good rule. Sidechain everything.
Sidechain the song.
Yeah, sidechain your ambience.
Anything you guys want to add to that?
I think we were talking about like things that you want to perfect when you're building something. Definitely, I know something that I like pride myself on in like the most humble way possible is transitions, and that's. And like that would go into like DJing and mixing and producing.
Yeah.
Like in the same way you're trying to go from song to song, you're trying to like carry them throughout your song.
Yeah.
Like, all right, there's an intro, there's a body, there's more of a build up, and then there's like a climax and the drop.
Yeah.
And I think in the same way that you're building a mix and like we're gonna start to the end, but you're still trying to maintain that energy as you go. That same way when you're building a track. That you want to keep the attention, that you want to change things up to where it blends, but they're still interested.
Yeah.
In that same way.
And that's one of the things that Adam told me. I think you told me about that too. When it comes to mixing, so you want to treat it like as a song.
Yep.
And I took that like
follow the song structure.
It's just one long,
Yeah. And like now I'm looking, when I'm mixing now, it's like I'm looking at that now. So okay, we're gonna start things like this, and then the meat and bones is gonna be like in the middle. And,
So like if you're listening to like if you're listening to Chris, like there's very few like climaxes because the whole thing is just like kind of even highs and lows here and there, but it's really mellow and it's easy to groove to. Where you're at a lot of the time. And then if you're comparing that to something like a dubstep or a trap more set, it's going to be like climax to climax to climax to super low to way back up high.
Yeah.
But it's in that same way that you're still maintaining the energy. It's just a different like crowd.
Right.
I guess you put it as.
That's true.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot of stuff like you can do creatively, like managing your energy.
Oh, wait, no, you're awesome. So I was at forgive me, the Hot Import Nights festival, the Hot Import Nights DJ competition that was at Westworld this year. I came back as returning champion and I didn't win through. That was a hoopla that we're going to discuss off camera. He was wearing a slushy jersey, and it was like through a sea of like older dudes that are just really into cars and people that want to listen to like hip hop. I was like slushy, and like so I'd be playing songs, and I played like Sand Hollow, and at one point I just saw him like, guys, why aren't you freaking out? Like, this is awesome. So I came down, and he was one of the people, like his family came over, like, hey, like, you did a great job, blah, blah, blah. And I immediately like friended them and how we follow each other on Facebook and everything. So you're the man.
Thanks for catching us. Cool. How much, what are we on time? Oh, shit. What?
I mean, we can go as long as, if you have more stuff to,
what did you want to call it? Like,
I mean, whenever.
We can do one more.
One more.
Yeah.
I think we can.
We don't want to blow all our content.
Yeah. No. This will be a good one. Before I share the 15 little
Keep
tips
it
that I
going.
got. Do you ever end up changing your original idea into something else? I have done that. Made a song, didn't like it, deleted it, did something different, and it became something different song.
Wait, what was it?
Do you guys ever like end up creating something but end up changing at the end, or like
Oh,
composing
yeah.
something?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like
We're gonna talk a little bit about it earlier.
just the amount, like if I'm building a mix, the amount of times I rotate between songs throughout the day, it's like I would have 1 to 50, and I'm like, cool, this is good, and then I'll be like, no, or I'll just take like a third of it out, and I'll put it in like. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a good chunk of it out, I'll rebuild it to see what it sounds like on its own,
Mhm.
and then I'll put that on top of what I had initially, and I'm like, this sounds way better, and it's like, oh my gosh. When it comes to, at least like when it comes to making the mix and then like making a track, I've definitely like, I built something, and I'm like, that's a fun 30 seconds. I'll save parts of this and use it later. But yeah, there's been a lot of times production wise and mixing where I was just like, scrap this project. I'm gonna do it again.
Mhm.
Or like you just have it done on your own and you're like, I'm gonna work on this in 5 years maybe.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you do.
I mean, yeah, like it sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad if you just completely scrap something. A lot of times, like I was saying earlier, when I'm close to what I think at the time is the end of my production process for a song, I'll completely change the original idea that got me started going down that whole road in the first place.
Mhm.
And then sometimes it works out well, and I'm like, this works really well. Sometimes I'll end up scrapping the entire song because I messed it up. So it's kind of like, I feel like if anyone has like 5 released songs on like Spotify, like finished songs, like they probably have at least 25 songs that they've scrapped.
Right.
Oh yeah.
that's
Like
Joyride would post that on his Instagram. Like when he would post a new track, and then you'll see on his story on his computer, there's at least like he would post like 15 to 30 different versions of how he would want it to sound.
Yeah.
But at the end, he was like, that one. Like, but then like when you go and see him, it'll be the same song. He'll just play a different version, and I'm like,
Yeah, no,
Oh
it's
my
crazy. There's so
gosh.
many like options, and especially when you have like Joyride has a, he has a formula. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's Joyride has a very distinct sound. He's, it's, you know consistently what you're getting with Joyride, and so with that, it's kind of like really easy to make a million different variations.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
Mhm.
the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I think that like with like starting positive, definitely kind of feel like what David said is
Mhm.
that like I've definitely started with an idea and then completely change it into something else and be like, I don't like this. All right, so go back to the original idea, and then I'll kind of go from there, and then I'll be like, so I kind of like I have like the same idea that kind of branched and maybe like sometimes completely different directions, and sometimes yeah, I mean it's just it happens.
I tend to, if I don't like something, I mean like the melody. I actually have a melody bin. Do you guys have that? It's just a folder with like just melodies that you create, and if it didn't work out in the song, you're like, you know what, I'm just saving it for later.
Yep.
That's another cool way of getting creative is just making melodies. Maybe you don't want to make a song, maybe you just want to make a melody, and you hop on your
Do
computer.
you bounce it, or do you just save the project file?
No, in my DAW, you can just carry that into a folder and it saves it.
Well, like what is the file type? Is it
It's going to be under Wave. Or
Oh,
maybe file
okay. So
type.
yeah, you bounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about.
Yeah. And so when I'm trying to make something different, I'll go to the melody bin and I'll listen to like all these melodies I created over the past couple of years. And like, I like this one, and I'll take it in and I'll put it and I'll start making whatever I want to do with it. So I think it's pretty kind of cool. So yeah. So I think that'll be it for that. I wanted to share with you guys 15 ways to get creative when making music, and then you guys can say you agree or don't or disagree or be like, hey, this is stupid. Number 1 is focus on rhythm first. Basically, a good song needs a good rhythm, and melody relies on a good rhythm as well. Once your rhythm is down, you simply a matter of just moving notes up and down to create your melody. Then I got this from a website too, so they had like a lot of cool tips on here. And they basically said on a more macro level, and especially if you're making dance music, getting the groove and the rhythm sorted in your track first makes everything else come easier. So like if you already have a good rhythm, I think everything kind of just falls apart.
You just kind of feel how it's going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really easy to create a melody on a blank canvas, but it's really easy to create a melody when you already have a rhythm.
That's true.
You can also create it in your head, hum it, record it. Like that's totally acceptable. You can literally like I highly recommend if you want to make music to have like a voice recording app on your phone and just like any idea you have, just record it, like hum it. And it's funny because you can actually Ableton has a feature where you can actually take like a file, like you can separate. It'll dissect the melody or it'll dissect the harmony. So if it's like just a melody and you just hum the melody, you can actually take the file and import it into Ableton and then convert that file into a melody. You can convert your voice recording into a melody that you can then use in Ableton, and then you can change that MIDI file into like any any instrument. And so that's really cool.
Yeah, I was at work one time and I was working with this woman. Her name is Kathy, and I had borrowed her pen for something to use it. And she was just like, "Hey, give that back. That's my pen for." I was like, "Say it again." She's like, "It's my pen for the day." And I was like, "Say it again." And she's like, "It's my pen for the day." And I was like, "It's my pen."
So there you go.
And I was literally like, "Hold on." I was back to the I was like, there's people around. I was like, hold on.
This is why people hate music
I was like,
producers.
it's my pen for the day. Chris Lake-esque hi-hats. Fix that fucking snare.
Well, I don't know if you guys seen. There's like a video it's been surfed around the internet for a while. It's a guy who's literally slaps his girl's ass.
Seen it?
Yeah, you seen that one? Okay.
Yeah, Sueco.
Is it?
I think his
Okay.
name's like Sueco, the child. This thing.
Yeah, he goes and like his girlfriend's asleep and he goes and shuffles her hair. And he records that and he puts in a song. And then he goes and he like smacks his girl's ass. He puts in a song and then he makes a banger out of it. And like the final product is there. And is that the same person who recorded the Domino's delivery guy?
Damn.
I'm not sure. I think I might be thinking of someone else. I thought of this guy who created a drum pattern. He's like, all right, turn around, and he's just like, he's like playing drums on this girl's ass, and then he has her like moan into a microphone and like creates a melody out of that. And stuff.
We got a question,
George. What advice would you give a person wanting to start
That's
mixing?
you guys.
I know. Okay, so what? I know the answer. Okay, so what I did when I first wanted to start mixing, quit shaking table. I watched tutorials, specifically like Laid Back Luke. He goes pretty in depth on how to get started on mixing. But the thing that really helped me out was watching boiler room sets, where it's really just like it could be one big name DJ or just a local guy that where they are, and it's just like them in this little room, and there's maybe like 50 or 60 people.
Yeah, I like the boiler rooms.
Yeah, because it's like it's their own set, but the way they have all the cameras and everything set up is directly on what they're doing. And a lot of times in those sets, it's not like they can just play bangers the way you would for a show. It's like if they're throwing a little house party.
Yeah.
So you can see what they're doing. You can tell when they're mixing. Watching Drezzo and DJ Hansel, Dylan Francis's alter ego.
Oh yeah.
Play. When they did like a B2B, it was cool because they were just playing like deep house and stuff, and you're like, I've never really heard Dylan Francis play that. But how they're playing it, you can tell everyone's just kind of vibing because it's like a softer level. But at the same time, it lets you see what they're doing, so you can kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
Like when you're watching, you can kind of tell when they're transitioning, what they're playing next, when they're using effects and when they're not, versus being like at a festival and you're like, this sounds cool, but I have no idea what's going on. Like for all you know, it's like Martin Garrix where they're just playing the track. They're like, everybody jump! Like the whole time. No, but those are super helpful.
I think you'd want to. I think that's good, but you probably won't understand anything that you're watching until you have a controller or you have someone who's shown you how to beat match and how to tempo match.
Watch our videos.
Yes, we do have a video on. Wingo did a video on how to beat match.
Yeah, super simple, super basic. There are a couple things I didn't touch on, like what exactly everything is on the controller. But if you guys want, we can definitely make you one of those.
Like an in-depth video. Like
Yeah, about like at least what we use. Like for me, I use the DDJ 1000. As I said in the video, it's because it more resembles CDJs,
Mhm.
which are the more common things you're going to run into.
Mhm.
But there are cheap controllers you can get that are like $100 to $200. Online is a thing. You can get some for cheaper. It just depends kind of what you want to do.
like
But I mean, worst case scenario, just go to Guitar Center and just explore.
Yeah.
I know they've got a lot of times they have everything set up for you,
Mhm.
and then you can just kind of sample. They've got music and everything loaded on the laptops,
Mhm.
so you can really just go and experiment and see what you like.
It's Jorge, right? I think. I would say I started out just buying a controller, like
Right.
Like I said,
Yeah, I did the same thing. I know what I was doing.
I-
I
you're-
bought a controller.
I
You're
bought the,
not gonna get your first. You're gonna get rid of your first controller.
Right.
I still have mine.
I started with Newmark Mix Track Pro 2, and then I got the SB2, SB3, SX3, and now I'm on the DDJ 1000.
Nice.
And I blew through those in probably like 4 years.
Nice.
Just because you start with one because you think that's gonna be all you need, but then you think, hey, I didn't know this function was available. Now that you're more used to it and you're used to the lingo,
Mhm.
and then you find what's gonna suit your needs as you go.
Mhm.
So yeah, I definitely agree. Like just find one that you like that's within your price range. Do a little research on it and see if it's applicable for you,
Mhm.
and then just pick one up.
I know Pioneer has some good ones that are really affordable.
Yeah. This was I was telling him the other day. So the DJ 200, the DJ 200 is $150. It's mainly to be used with your phone, and so for that reason, a phone or tablet, and so I think it may actually work. I think you may be able to plug it into your computer and use it with Rekordbox, but it's definitely built as like a very small like entry-level controller, but for what it is, and considering it comes with like a Rekordbox license and everything, I mean it's a steal. Like DJ 200, like definitely if you're looking to get started and you want to get started so that you can move into playing at like clubs and play like festivals and you want to be like you kind of want to play at bars or whatever.
Mhm.
You want to go that direction, like definitely. Those are good because those places use CDJs, and CDJs use the Rekordbox software. And so when you get started with the Rekordbox software, it sets you up kind of to just seamlessly transition into that area.
Yeah.
And there's also the DJ 400, which is if you think you're a little bit more serious, you can pick that up for about $250. And that one is more of your standard controller. It has more features, bigger, and that would be like if you're a little bit more serious about it. The DJ 400 is a really, really good option, and that's what I recommend to everybody. If you're looking to get started DJing, and you have either pick up the 200 or pick up the 400 if you're willing to drop. And you can find them used too, so you can find them. You could probably find the
online used, offer up. But definitely like Guitar Center has a bunch of, they just have like a full like used section you can just have at.
Right, and when you go used, you can, and I buy a lot of my equipment used, and so you can, you not only save on taxes, but you also have, can usually save like $50 on those. So you can honestly probably find a DJ 200 used for like $100 flat. You could probably find a DJ 400 for about like $200 flat, and that's pretty sweet. That's really good for.
Yeah. I was at a Guitar Center one time just kind of checking out, like waiting for the guy to process me getting my DDJ 1000. And this older gentleman comes up to me and he's like, hey, my daughter's 15 and she wants to get into DJing. Which one do you think I should get her? And I was like, well, you could do the 400. If I were you, I might look into the SB3 or the SB2 just because those are also kind of simple. Granted, it's using the Serato software, which is not as universal as Rekordbox. Rekordbox generally means you can go anywhere with your USB, but Serato is more like you need that software like on your laptop, basically, so you'd have to bring your computer too. But I was kind of telling him about it, and he's like, I'm just thinking I'm going to get this one. And I think he was looking at like, I don't remember which one it was. I just remember the price tag was around like $2,000.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, you're trying to impress your daughter, ain't you? I was like, this is gonna be an awkward family scenario. But I was like, I get that at some point that's gonna be what you want, but if you start off with that, it's gonna be stupid overwhelming, and you're gonna get burnt out so quick. Like, start with something little. keep your packaging and everything nice, because I know what I do when I first started was I just kept everything, and then when it was time for me to upgrade, I saved a little money, take it to Guitar Center and just trade it in, and it took a couple $100 off when I would upgrade as I would go. But just like Adam was saying, like just start with something easy, and then as you go, like you figure things out, like just go from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's my kind of journey mixing is that I bought I kind of like saw some, like I had friends who were DJs and I'm like, oh, that looks cool, and I was interested in picking it up, and so I just went on OfferUp. I picked up a Newmark Mixtrack Pro 3 for about $100, and I had that for about a month before I knew what to do with it. I watched videos online, and I thought beat matching was tempo matching, and so because I didn't understand that distinction, I didn't know how to beat match. So I didn't know how to use the controller for about a month until I had a DJ friend who was like, oh, this is how you beat match. And he showed me a really basic transition. And I was like, oh my God, okay. And then from there, it was just all like self-teaching. From there, once I understood how to do the very most basic transition, beat matching, I understood that's when I was able to start teaching myself stuff. Shortly after that, and then once I learned how to beat match, I'm like, okay. I practiced a little bit more. I quickly upgraded to a DJSR, and then I went out of the country for about 2 months. And I can't bring a DJSR or really it's harder to bring a full-size controller like that and like a laptop with you out of the country. So what I did is I picked up a little DJ to go to, a Newmark DJ to go to. Those are available for really cheap. You could probably get them for about 50 to 75 bucks on Amazon. And that controller will basically do the very basics. It doesn't really have any effects. There's the most basic features. It's super tiny, but you can set up 4 basic cues, and you can set up and you can beat match with it. That's really what it can do. You have these tiny jog wheels. It's extremely limited, but I spent about 2 months when I was out of the country, like almost every day practicing, like using that equipment, using like a Surface 3. And I pretty much practiced that using, I didn't use the sync button at all. I didn't really know how to use the sync button for a long time. And so, and I learned using that really basic equipment. And because I learned on that basic equipment, I wasn't overwhelmed with like tons of features. I wasn't overwhelmed with like all these effects, all these filters, all these things. And honestly, and that's really like when you learn using the most basic transitions, then you can build upon that and then kind of add those effects. And I think it also will make you a better DJ in the long run, is if you kind of start with a simpler product.
Yeah, just take your time.
Yeah, start out small.
Get something little and just take your time.
So hopefully that answers your question, Jorge. Hopefully we see you soon too. Excellent. Perfect. Then go back to the 15 ways. So yeah, we talked about focusing on rhythm first, and I think we all pretty much agreed. Yeah, rhythm is pretty cool.
It's like cherry pick those, because I don't think we'll have time to go through all 15.
I'll go and I'll pick out the ones that I really like. Get visually inspired.
Yeah.
I've
get those big in your room. Every white girl on Instagram,
make music for that.
Your little calendar, your Mayan calendar. It's my sign. No, it's not, dude. Wrong one.
No, I'm a huge car guy, so there's this YouTube channel called The Lowdown, and they have a lot of great hip hop and trap style music, and I was really impressed, and I'm like, I want to do something like this. And so what I ended up doing was I pulled up a video of this awesome car, and I just muted it, and then I went into my DAW and I tried to make something out of it, and I tried to create something that would fit with the video, and I thought it was pretty cool. And
Okay, Joyride.
Yeah. But yeah, getting visually inspired, that's one way of getting the creative juices flowing. Edit MIDI files and make them your own. I've done this. There's a ton of MIDI files online that you guys can get, and you can just start warping the crap out of them or do whatever the hell you want with them and make them your own. Yeah, I've done it with that. So another one too. Let's see here. Oh, start with the drums. I don't know if you guys ever start with the drums.
Good amount of the time.
I generally start with vocals first.
Really?
Yeah, I when I was building the track with Aluna's voice, I was just listening to her voice, and I'm like, I started with that, and I was like, what can I put around it?
Yeah,
right around the vocals.
To
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it also helps to literally write out the song a little bit first, like write the song structure. That's why it's really good to have like a reference track, because when you have a reference track, you can kind of, write out the song structure. And then once you have the song structure, then it's really easy to fill in the drums. It's really easy to be like, okay, I need to put like the build up here and build up drums. You really have like a template to work with. And once I never really understood how to start with the drums until I understood how to start with the song structure. Because when you start with the song structure, then it's really easy to just transition into the drums.
Yeah, I did this remix competition a few months ago, they gave me the stems for the vocals, and I took the vocals and literally just created a kick drum pattern around it and made the entire song structure, and it was completely empty, just vocals, kicks, and snares. That's it. And it was, and then it sped up my my production process like tenfold, because I was like, build up's gonna go here. Here I can get a little creative and do some sound design. Here I can do this, that. Like having the structure preset, it makes the whole process 10 times easier.
I think it. I want to say it also makes making a song a little bit easier if you start with the drums, because you already know the rhythm that you're going for. Now it's just kind of fill in the blank of like, okay, how do I make the bass want to sound like?
Depends on the genre too. So especially when you're talking about if you're talking about like tech house, that's like. I mean, the drums are such a core part of the song, but it's like there are different different genres. I think it could be a little bit harder where you have to get a lot more creative with the drums, and it's like the drums would be maybe absent for half the song, even where maybe some parts even have the drums, and then that can be maybe a little bit more difficult. I could see that.
Yeah, normally a lot of like tech house and house songs start with the beat mainly, because obviously like you're gonna be like start dancing with it.
Yeah,
but then if you're in like trap and dubstep, normally it starts with like a riser or some type of like ambiance, like crazy like robotic or like snails kind of sound where it's like grimy, and then it's just like a crash either into it or like then there's the beat. You know what I mean?
This tip right here is one that I definitely stand by, is take a preset based approach. There's nothing wrong with using presets. I use presets a lot in my productions and when it comes to like serum, and but at the same time I also will go in there and I'll start manipulating that preset and make it my own. If I don't like a wave table, maybe it's a sine, or maybe it's a saw, or maybe it's a square wave, I'll go in there and start just mess around with it and see what sounds good, and so nothing wrong with presets.
This preset skips the work of me trying to figure out how I want this sound to go, and like skips that time of you worrying about it and getting burnt out, versus like this sounds close, I can leave it there, but I can tweak it a little bit later.
Kind of like what we were talking about earlier of getting to the point where it's good enough to move on and build off of. A preset like takes that time and just crunches it, because you basically if you're taking a preset for like a lead or something, you can just make your melody. It's already good enough because you have the preset. And then you can build something else, and then you can be like, oh, this lead will actually sound a lot cooler if I tweak it like this. You can do your own sound design by building off of presets. It's like, I mean, you could tweak it, like you could totally tweak a preset to the point where it's completely, like can't even distinguish that it was the original sound. I mean, that's definitely always an option.
Yeah, and also I think presets tend to help with you learning, whatever VST that you're using or whatever instrument. I didn't know how to use Serum a lot, still kind of don't a little bit, but I will go into the preset and be like, oh, I like the way they, this sounds. How did they go into, how did they make it? And I started like analyzing everything, like the tables and what's connected to what. But yeah, if anyone tells you that presets is a no-no, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Presets are there for a reason. A lot of times too, a lot of artists, especially with like Disciple, I know they make a lot of presets that you can purchase.
They can have some for free too.
Yeah, and for free, as well. But they're there because they took the time to create it and they want to share with everybody. They want everyone to use it. So
even Virtual Riot was like I watched a recent video with him, and he was saying, he was going through all his old tracks, and he was talking about basically like he only really started doing his own sound design like in 2013 or 2014. He was using mostly presets before that point, and he was talking about, and I fully agree with him. Basically, sound design is important because you have your own distinct sound when you do your own sound design, and it also gives you more of like a limited selection of sounds, and you kind of develop more of a brand. but when you're starting off, and even not necessarily, like, you can do a mix of your own sound design and a mix of presets, and but it makes that workflow process a lot simpler and a lot quicker
and a lot easier too. Instead of like you having to melt down, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to create this lead? Just go in there and do something. Another quick tip is produce consistently. Produce consistently if it doesn't sound good. I've made songs sound like garbage, released it on SoundCloud. Hey, I made a song still, and it's a learning curve.
Right.
Definitely just produce, and just put out to the world, and kind of see where it goes from there. But just keep on practicing. Earlier we talked about just making melodies. Go in there and just make a little fun track, for 30 minutes or something, and go do something else. But just kind of keep on producing. Really.
Yeah, like do it. Breaks are okay every now and again, but also keep track that it's like you are just taking a break. You're gonna come back. Just make sure you do eventually come back. Versus like, all right, I'm just gonna have a little snack, and then you're like, well, now I'm in a food coma, and I'm gonna take it. It's like, no, do a little.
You don't need to release everything you produce. That's a big thing. Don't feel pressured. So don't be afraid to make a bad song, because completing a song is an art in itself. And don't be don't be afraid to make a bad song, because you don't necessarily have to release that song, and it can be all for just kind of self-learning. And it's cool to have like a collection of just tracks that you've completed, even if not all of them are great, because you'll continue to improve and stuff. So.
A lot of times too, a lot of people might like that song that you think is not good. I made some songs and I'm like, I don't like this, but somebody else liked it.
Plus, like, if you make something and it ends up being kind of empty, someone can pick it apart the same way. Maybe get some use out of it.
Yeah, that's true. And then all of a sudden your song becomes a reference track.
So. I mean, really the point where you'd want to more selectively release is when you start trying to build up a distinct brand more, and that's kind of when you have to. At the point where you're doing your own sound design, you have like you're really selectively releasing tracks that have a consistent quality, but like that's something that comes with time, and that's not something that starts right off the bat. And it's you don't want to release like whatever garbage that you threw together in like an hour, but you do want to make sure that you're releasing content regularly, because it keeps your audience and your fans engaged.
Excellent. Yeah, so produce consistently, guys, definitely. And then last one I want to say is just revisit old projects. I don't know if you guys ever are listening to some of your older stuff or some like work in progress music, and you're like, let's finish this.
Definitely done that multiple times.
Yeah, like when you had posted earlier, like DJs do listen to your own mixes.
Oh yeah.
I was like, dude, I don't know what it is lately. I was just like, I need a good dose of house. And my Gold Rush competition mix that I made this year, I don't care that I didn't win. I love it. Like, I was so happy with how it turned out.
Yeah.
All the transitions are super clean. I like all the songs. So like at this point, I'm like, I don't even care that I didn't win. I was like, I just like this for me. So like, I hope you guys enjoy it too. But I'll play it like in my car, and I'm like, it's just me. It's not even that it's just me. I just like how it sounds. I was like, yeah, me and my music. And it's like, nah. One, other people made the music. Two, like it's a mix. Like just enjoy it. So yeah, it's cool to like listen to like. It's fun listening to people. Oh, I made this track. I'm like, oh, is it recent? 5 years ago. Like, it's still good to me. And I'm like, nice. Heck yeah, nice job.
And then I'll leave one last one. And one of the things on here said that don't take it too seriously. I think that's a core one that we can all probably get behind. Is take it serious, but not too serious, where like you're dreading or you can't sleep at night, or like you're getting stressed about it.
Yeah, right. It's obviously should be a fun process.
It should be a fun process. Yeah.
That techno song I just made, I think I believe when I first sent it, like I sent it to like a bunch of people, and it was just a kick on repeat for 7 minutes, and it was kind of like just like a joke. And then I was like, like I knew I kind of wanted to go in and make a techno track, and then I kind of just did that as a joke, and then I took that, and then I did like song structure.
That's my buddy Michael.
Hey,
hi Michael, I love you.
I edited that, that just as a joke, and then I turned that into like an actual like track, and I had a lot of fun working on that too, and just kind of building upon that, which kind of started off as a joke, and I didn't take it too seriously during the time. It was just kind of something for fun.
Yeah, just take a meme and just make
make music out of it.
Yeah,
you could. I mean, if you have the sound clip, why not? You know, you can have a lot of fun with it.
But that's about that on that King Creative with music. But yeah,
Stoney.
hopefully we've talked about some stuff and covered that a lot of people like. But yeah, you guys have anything else you want to throw in? I'm pretty good there.
Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated.
Right. If you haven't seen Aquaman yet, go see it. It's not in theaters anymore, so you got to get it on Blu-ray.
Spider-Man.
Also not in theaters.
Oh, I know.
The gambling addiction.
What advice would you give a person with a gambling addiction?
That'll be covered next time. We'll cover that next time.
Make music.
I'm not sure about that, but we can go to the casino tonight if you want to.
Get some help. Get some help.
I second that.
No, if you guys aren't busy Saturday, Mesa Music Festival, I'm gonna be there with Aluna. We're gonna be at a couple different places. Shut up, Stoney. I'm gonna go to Vegas if I want to. No, but I'll be at the Mesa Music Festival basically all day. I'm gonna post later about where I'm gonna be exactly. But sorry, table. But yeah, so Saturday, Mesa Music Festival, that's where I'll be. There's a lot going on this weekend, so stay safe. No DUIs.
There you go.
Yeah, we can't have followers if you guys like leave. So,
and of course, that's if you're local to Arizona, and if you want to come visit Arizona, we always appreciate that. We recognize that, of course, we will be expanding. Hopefully worldwide. That'd be really cool if we had people all over the globe watching this stuff. Right now, I think a lot of our audience is probably local to Arizona, but we will definitely. I mean, our content is meant to be, enjoyed by people all over the world.
Yeah,
sure.
And just like our live stream, if you guys have any questions or ideas, things you just want to hear us talk about, or things you want to mix, if you guys are local and you're like, I need music friends, hit us up. We're always down to make some homies. And
Absolutely.
What else?
We'll be again doing this every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. So it might not be the same time every week. We try to select a time that works the best for all of us, but it'll also vary every week. So we want to have like guest DJs, guest producers on our kind of podcast style show. Maybe like have people coming in, or even like over like a video chat, like a FaceTime type thing.
Yep.
And just have like, bring people on. Some weeks we may have it may be like one or two of us, and we're like doing a B2B, mixing live or something like that. Other times it may be one or two of us actually streaming on our computer, like our screen, and it will be demonstrating like a project as we're working on it. Maybe it'll be like just a live project session where like one of us is working on a track, or maybe one of us will start a track and just live stream, kind of walking through that. It could be like just walking through making like a rhythm track or a tech house track, or it could be anything. We'll just kind of not really, there won't be like, obviously there won't be like any editing, so it's like you get to see really that process from start to finish. But yeah, I mean it'll vary with time, so we hope that you guys stay tuned, and of course if you haven't already, please subscribe. We have all our social media pages in the description
here.
And
I think it's where it is. I think it's right about there.
Right there.
Like, share, subscribe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a little button right here too. So
Well, do we have any announcements for the page or for the collective coming up this week, later?
No, so we'll be doing some giveaways pretty soon. Some of the giveaways will be more local oriented, where they might include like tickets to local shows. And so with that kind of stuff, it'd be like just a relatively like just share this post and enter a chance to win. We'll also have another really cool giveaway coming up that will basically doesn't really matter where you are. It'll still, you can still participate in it, and you can still win one of the prizes, and it's not like region based. So we hope that you guys stay tuned for that, because we're pretty excited for those.
Yep. So Mondays we have mixes put out by us. Tuesdays tutorials. Wednesdays live streams. Thursdays TBD.
Mhm.
Fridays playlists.
Oh yeah. Stay tuned again. So that's our kind of content schedule. And so we haven't really talked about this at all, but I just want to briefly mention it. So for our playlist on Friday, we've kind of each have, and this applies to a little bit to YouTube too. So we each have our own kind of like color. So I'm blue, he's purple, he's orange, he's green, and
Purple.
so the playlist color, like there will be a icon, and that color will reflect who made that playlist for that week. Also, that color scheme also applies to some of the like icons on YouTube for like the thumbnails. That is, the thumbnails are kind of color coded a little bit by who did it for that week. It's not super consistent, like because sometimes there are like neutral days and stuff like that. And then also like the visualizers that we've been producing and putting out. The visualizers, we're also going to try to have those kind of color coded as best as possible. Where like if like my mix from this week, it was blue, and then last week it was purple, and then
Purple.
yeah, and then next week when Cisco puts out his mix, it'll be green, and then so henceforth. So we're gonna try to keep that going. But yeah, hopefully you guys stick with us through this whole time, and we really appreciate it. If you've been watching this whole hour and a half, that is a very long time.
It flew by. It flew by.
So it was like when you did that note about like don't take it too serious. I'm like, we've been talking for an hour and a half. Dude, like,
Right. But yeah, I mean, I think that's it from us.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys next week, and we'll keep that content coming for you guys.
peace. Hi. Gang related.
Gang related.